They do want some extra screen time. They just want, they don't have that, why they should be doing it all yet. So they will be doing that. But then when it comes up once or twice, that is when you go, all right, so we've got the family circle of trust, and I'm glad that you came and told me on your own, and I didn't have to walk in and find your room in a big mess again. I said, because, that's one of my triggers. And when I walk in and find your room in a big mess, and we've agreed that you're going to tidy it up and make your bed, then I get angry, So I'm glad you've come to tell me, but let's see how we can change that now. All right, this is the family circle of trust. However, we have said that if you do not do it, this is the consequence. So now you get a choice. You either have the consequence or you make your bed. It's up to you. And you don't let them get away with little things like that. They will try. Of course they will try. So anyway, that is really, really important. And I think it's one of the, when I start working with parents, it's one of the first things I get them to create within their family. All right. And then we also have to look at our language when we are disciplining our children, because a lot of parents out there are disciplining their children through fear. So they're getting threatened, they will get shouted at, and then they say, oh, my child's been really well behaved and he's listening and he's doing everything he has to do. But is the child doing it because he understands the value in behaving well, making good choices for himself? Or is he doing it because, once again, he's in fear of being shouted at, fear of being punished? I was working with parents who, when I started working with them, they have a young son. He was 10, 11 years old. And they both parents work very, really hard every day. And this little boy, because of his own insecurities, because they were very, very strict with him, and they would put the fear in him to try and control his behavior, because this is the difference between raising children, accepting them for who they are, trying to empower them to be their best selves, and then trying to control them, for them to be what we feel that they should be, for them to act and behave in ways that the parents think they should act and behave. And his parents were definitely in the controlling mode. And, he would arrange a play date with a friend, and then maybe the school would phone and tell the parents, oh, he did this and this and this at school. And the parents would go, right, you're punished, grounded, no play date with your friend, and you have to sit in your room alone. And he would be left until one of the parents came back from work, in the house alone in his room. His brother was there, older brother was there, but he was not allowed out the room until the parents came home. And this is, his behavior just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And that is when they came to me, because their school was phoning him nearly every day. And this way of parenting wasn't working, because the child was in fear all the time. Fear that if I do this wrong, and he's got no judgment. He doesn't, why is this so bad? Why is this wrong? He just reacted as a child reacted. There was no discussion, no conversation with him, no walking him through it. Let's see what you chose this time. How would you choose differently? What would the different result bring? So that he can start to think and learn and make decisions for himself. And he was just like put in his room. Now, I don't, know that, if a prisoner in prison, the top punishment is to put him in confinement. And this is what they were doing to their little boy, but they're not realizing. They're thinking that they're being good parents by controlling their children. But it has the opposite result, because then the child is forever in fear. And a child that lives in fear has to go on the defense to protect himself. And that is when the child starts attacking. And that's when the behavior starts going really, really out of hand. If you want to know what's going on with your child, look at the behavior. Not to criticize it, not to judge it, not to try and control it, but get the messages. What is the need behind this behavior? And yes, so that's what I, wanted to share with you tonight. I think that's the two most important things. One is to have a safe space in the house for the child to be able to come and tell you anything. And two is that as a parent, we realize that we don't control the children's behavior. We try and have conversations, talk with them, and try and get them to understand the value in what their choices are. I'm a strong believer in small consequences appropriate to what's going on. So this is how I've raised my children as well, is that children need to be disciplined. We need to put on safe limits, because a child that isn't disciplined and a child that hasn't got any limits does not feel safe. We are creating very insecure children this way. We need the limits, we need the discipline, because the child has to rely on us, that we're in charge, we're the adults, and we're going to be there to help and support and to bring them up in this world. So that's what I wanted to share on the parenting side.
So when you're saying, when you were speaking, Nicole, a phrase came to mind that I heard years ago, that what parents repress, their kids express. And so, yeah, and the behavior of the child was just, it's always a reflection on the parent, but not as a form of guilt, but it's a form of, it's again, getting back to Elena, what we began talking about, that individuation. I remember Jordan Peterson, the very famous Canadian intellect. And he said most adults never really truly grow up until they have children, because they force you to pay attention to things that otherwise you would just walk by, you'd never notice. And that's really been, I know, the experience for me. There's so many things that I had to figure out, and I was horrified at my own reactions, my emotional tendencies to want to outburst in the presence of this little child. And then you have to kind of take a step back and go, what the hell's wrong with me? Like, what's going on? And children force adults to mature. And it's actually not, it can be really an extraordinary journey for both child and adult, because you both get to grow up at the same time, right? Not just the child, but the adult, and all our infantile behavior that hasn't been matured yet. And now we have a very beautiful reason in the presence of our children.
And as Nicole was speaking, I just want to add up to what Nicole said. It reminded me a scene with my dad. It was his birthday, and I was bought him a present, and I was running inside the house, Dad, where are you? Like that. And I went to him and hugged him, and I was about to kiss him, but he just went like that. And I felt so, I started crying, because I'm very enthusiastic person, and I grab people and kiss them, and then I had that reaction, and I just stepped back and I said, I was crying. I said, why don't you want me to kiss you? I mean, it's the normal thing I do with strangers. I see strangers in the street and I run and kiss them. And he just couldn't speak. And then I understood that that's how he was brought up in his family. He wasn't brought up they didn't give him much love, and he wasn't used to that. And and the groups, Nicole is saying the trust group for the family is good, so we can express ourselves also what we have been through as children. If I was a child, I would definitely want to go back to my home now, if I had that opportunity, and sit with my parents and ask them what they have been through. I would want to know. And when I was researching to find for the generation of my family, my aunts, they weren't speaking. They were afraid to tell me. But when I went back, I found an uncle and an aunt, and she opened up and told me what was happening. It was like a lineage in this family, and it was really bad when I found that. And even my mother, because she has dementia now, she doesn't even remember me. But even when she was well, she never told me these things. And it's good that parents and children must open up. And I'm living in this village 4 years now, and this was the village of my ancestors, and nobody told me. And I found an uncle in Facebook, and I didn't know him. I didn't know this uncle. And he said, "Hi, how are you doing?" And I said, "Hi, I'm fine." And he's my uncle. And he said, "I want you to come and meet your cousins because they're in your same age. And because you go out and they go out, I don't know, maybe you'll meet. And I don't want to have, situations going on with you." And I met my cousins. They're in my age. And we go out together. And I didn't know that they were my cousins. I mean, parents and children must open up. And I had a conversation with my son a few days ago when we went out for coffee. And he was in pain and he was trying to open up to me. And I said, I want to tell you something I never told you. And I told him things that I never opened up to tell him. And he said, "Really, Mom? Did you feel like that?" I said, "Yeah, me too." And suddenly, he smiled. And that's the thing, that if we can show our pains and scars to our children, it's going to be more easy for them when they're dealing with certain things. They're going to be like, "Let's go to Mom, let's go to Dad, and tell him what happened to me." Even if it's too horrible, they will feel open up. And I think it's time for parents and children to have these meetings, as Nicole said, not only for, what's happening, or, the emotional side, but the real discussions. When I was your age, maybe you can share that your parents were neglecting you, they weren't paying attention. And now that I am a parent now, I don't want to be the way my parents are. I want to change this story, and I want you to participate in this and help me out. And with this, we're going to break the generational trauma that has been going on. And when I saw my son, and it helped him because he is having his issues. So by expressing myself and showing how much pain I've been through, he lit up and said, "Wow, you had the same like me?" I said, "Yeah, I'm normal like you." And yeah, we should do that.
Definitely, yes. And I think that, I think one of the most important things to help a child feel safe is to just let there be unconditional love. Like it shouldn't ever be a matter that the child has to earn your love. That they should be able to rest in your love and to know that no matter what they do, that you are always going to be there, that you're always going to love them. And it's one of the messages that I tell my children often, and I think this is also very, very important, is that let children know that when they do something that you disapprove of, that it's not the child that you disapprove of, but it's the deed, the action, the choice that the child made. I always tell my children, I said, I don't like your choices right now. You are not your choices, and you can choose something different to do. You didn't have to choose that way of reacting. That lies on you. The choice was yours, and I'm letting you know that I don't like that choice right now, but I love you.
And you hug him and kiss him, because children needs a lot of hugs and kisses, and we also do. Yes, of course we do. But
yes, my oldest son, he's really, and the younger one too, but the older one can pick up if I'm upset or anything, and he'll often come and he says, "Mom, I think you need a hug right now." And then he'll give me a big hug, and he's right. I just need a hug right then. So And that is because that's coming from me as a parent and his father as a parent, that we give them lots of hugs, and as he's 14, 15-year-old now, he's trying different things, not coming home when he should be exactly on time, and that, and often before I will talk to him, I'll say to him, all right, I'm so happy you're home, let me give you a hug, hello, all right, now let's talk about this time, that you arrived. But before I get, talk to him about that, is to give him a hug and to start the conversation with that.
And
So that there's no feelings. He knows that I'm not angry with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important. And that goes a long way in helping a child feel safe.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We were growing up. There was 8 of us living in the house at one time. So and so your kids raise themselves in that environment. Parents just feed and clothe them. But my father, I didn't figure this out until many years later on. But and he was I'm 6 feet tall, and when I stood next to him, he made me look very small, right? And so he's a very big man and very angry and very frustrated. He had frustration. I think we kind of think that because of frustration trying to feed that many kids and generate that kind of revenue, the kind of money to support a family that size. And he employed people as well. So all that frustration, he just didn't manage very well. And there was at times that we would go to bed right after dinner just so we didn't have to run into him. Because we knew when he got back from work, he was not going to be the nicest person to deal with. And so we wanted to be far away from this possible, which meant going to bed at 6:30 at night, just to avoid him, right? And it's just that, and I think we just don't understand. We don't understand the impact, and we're not aware of this emotional state that we're in, and we just allow it to continue, this chaos and frustration and anger, and we just let it continue on and on and on, and just wreaks carnage in the world around us. And it's and there's a difference between feeling guilty about your actions and feeling responsible for your actions, right? Or feeling shame for your reactions. So if that's a parent's experience where they've acted very improperly towards their children from emotional outbursts. Living in shame around that behavior won't compel you to do anything, right? Feeling guilty is actually not so bad, because guilt actually lets you know that you've done something wrong. Shame, you'll just bury it, and shame will be the bribing of your children, the giving of gifts when you've done something wrong towards your children. But living into the responsibility, and yes, a bit of guilt will go a long ways, but learning how to amend that. And it's something I've learned with my own kids, is that I've been self-employed for many, many years, and I've witnessed my son was so good that he knew when I was manipulating him. He was so smart, right? That he knew when I was trying to bribe him or trying to manipulate him because of something that I said or did wrong in the moment. And in an instant, he picked up on it. And so, like, they're clever little beings. They're not children, though they may not be as emotionally mature. They're not stupid, and they'll pick up on these things, and they'll learn very quickly. And so, so Nicole, your idea of this circle of trust, honesty with your children is always the best policy, because they'll pick up on it. They may not say anything, but they'll know when you're not being authentic, and they'll play that to their advantage, and ultimately be to the disadvantage of the entire family.
And David, if you had a chance to go back to becoming small again, and your dad was there, and you ask him why is he reacting, I'm sure he would tell you a very sad story. Definitely. That something happened to them, and he never could express it, and he expresses it in anger and all that. And anger is fear, and fear is it is connected to trauma. Something happened to him, definitely, and he was like that. We're born like little angels, and then as we grow up, it's the environment that makes us. So if parents are listening, and like if I had the chance, my dad is not alive, so my mom cannot respond. So if you have your parents and you're in an adult age, you can go back to your parents and ask them what happened in your lives, and share their pain, and then you can understand why they reacted in as you were child in your childhood, the ways they reacted. And that's why I said, as I was speaking, that we shouldn't blame them, because after I got to, sit by myself and kind of research the things, I said, oh my God, I wish I had my dad here today and to tell him that I love him and that I don't blame him anymore. And I think that's the part of healing. It's just, you know, just saying these words.
Elena, my father, both my father and mother died last year, but 2 years ago, my father was never a great communicator. Brilliant man, but not when it comes to this sort of thing. So I wrote him a letter. And in fact, I sat down and wrote letters to a bunch of different individuals. And basically I said, it's in the letter, I said, listen, your job was not to be a parent. Your job was to get me here. And I'll take it from here. So I kind of, I wasn't asking for an apology from him. I wasn't, saying you ruined my life. I was, you put me out of the street. I didn't go any of those things. I just said, you don't owe me an apology. We're both here now. I said, so your job was to get me here. And from these challenges that I've experienced, it's given me a career path in which to help other people move through this process much more gracefully. So so it was an important, it was part of my boot camp, basic training in life, was to go through all this chaos and to be able to develop a career and helping people transcend it. But actually writing the letter was actually really cathartic for me. He didn't really respond a whole lot to it because it's in his nature not to. But definitely it closed that chapter, inside my mind. So there was nothing residual hanging over it. And all I said to him is that for the amount of years that you have left, you do extraordinary work and just do what you were put here to do. And I left it at that. And so it was a graceful ending to it. But I didn't have to go back and look for resolution. I didn't have to go back and find a bunch of answers of why he did that. I just really let it go. And again, like as you said, the understanding is that there's a whole bunch of circumstances that brought him to the place he was in his life. And my condemnation of him would serve no value whatsoever. Right. And so it was so perfect that I did that 2 years before he passed, because we never would have had that conversation. But I was able to close that chapter while he was alive. And I think that was really important for me to do that.
Yeah, I do letter writing too, and it's very healing, just releasing whatever it is and just accepting the situation. We have to accept and move on. That's it. Yeah, do you have anything else to say? Nicole, you want to share something?
Yes, I just wanted to say that, one of the most important things, I always, because the children will come back to me from school and they go, oh, so-and-so did this to me and so-and-so did that to me. And, my teacher was angry about this and that, is that I try and teach them that whatever experiences that they are living, they are 100% responsible. And that's a hard lesson for a little child. I don't go into too much depth about it, but I do start now. I'm threading that message into the situations that are happening. And I'm going, all right, so, you could see that your friend got angry with you and maybe he did this to you. All right. So, but he didn't do this to you. Something's going on. And for some reason, this has happened. So we can be angry with our friend and we can say it's all his fault, or we can accept responsibility for the situation. We can forgive ourselves for bringing it into our lives, and we can let it go. We had a lovely ceremony the other day with my youngest son, because a friend of his at school had gotten really, really angry with him. and had pushed his head against a wall. And so he had got a bump on his head and he had cut his lip. All right. And he was, of course, very angry and not ready to listen to anything. And I just let him sit with the anger, because that's not wrong. Sometimes we just need to sit with those hard, uncomfortable feelings and feel them. To me, what is wrong is when we stay in them for too long. I can't let it fester inside of him. So, you know, a couple of hours later, when he was ready to go to bed, he came and he snuggled up next to me, and we did some tapping about what had happened, and we got him calmed down. And then the next day I said to him, all right, now we need to do the forgiveness ceremony. And he said to me, I don't want to forgive him. I said, if you choose, and it comes back down to our choices, I said, you can choose to forgive, but I don't want you to forgive him. I want you to forgive you. I want you to forgive you for bringing the situation into your life. You know, and if you want to forgive him at some point, you can, but you don't have to. And even if you decide that you do want to forgive him, you can decide whether you want to carry on hanging out with him or not. I said, it's all very, very different and separate things. I said, but you cannot carry all of these hard feelings inside of you. And they were going off to a sports event the next day. And he said to me, I'm not going because this child's going to be there and I don't feel safe because the teachers didn't do anything to stop him. So I said, again, that's your choice. You know, you can choose the situation to affect you. And now you're not going on a school outing that you were really, really looking forward to. Or you can choose to go on the school outing and, you know, you can trust the teachers, or we can speak to the teachers and to sit and tell them how you're feeling. But he chose not to go, so that was fine. And so what we did then, we got pieces of paper and we wrote all his feelings, everything he really wanted to tell the child, not the nice things, not the forgiving things, but how the child had hurt him, had betrayed him, and he was calling this child all sorts of names and things like that. And we wrote them all on pieces of paper. And then I took the pieces of paper and we went to the fireplace. You can get a container, a metal container, and then we burnt them. And as we burnt them, we said, I release this from myself. I release this. So he's no longer carrying this in his heart and carrying all of these things around with him. And it was, you know, and that's the message I want the children to get, is that they are 100% responsible for their lives. Because when we blame someone else, the person doesn't change, or the person doesn't behave or act in the way we want, we have no power over that other person. We can't force them to behave in a certain way to us, you know, but we can change our reactions to what's going on. And, you know, he didn't go to the football thing. They all got signed tops from the football team. So he was so upset about that afterwards. And he decided that there was an end of the school year party and he wasn't going to go to that party either. But he decided that maybe he should go to the party. He said, because I decided not to go because of this little boy and I missed out. And now maybe I'll miss out again. So that's what I love about natural consequences for their actions, that they make a choice. I let him make those choices for himself, but then he saw the result of that choice. And now he can course correct. He can make a different choice for himself.
Exactly. We all have choices. We all have choices, either to stay unsafe or become safe.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
So I would like
Elena,
to
would you like to close with a little round of tapping that people can do if they are feeling unsafe?
Of course. We like
but choose to feel safe.
Okay. We need
All
that.
right. Okay, so let's put our hands here on our heart chakra and take a deep breath in and out. And we start tapping here, and you can be my echo. And we can say, even though
no.
this awful thing has happened,
This awful thing has happened.
And I am feeling quite fearful now.
And I'm feeling quite fearful now.
I choose
I choose
to feel safe right now.
To feel safe right now.
Even though
even though
I'm feeling a bit scared
I'm feeling a bit scared
and I'm not feeling very safe.
And I'm not feeling very safe.
Right here and right now,
right here, right now,
I choose to feel safe.
I choose to feel safe.
Even though this awful thing has happened
This awful thing has happened.
and I'm feeling a bit scared.
I'm feeling a bit scared.
Right here and right now,
Right here, right now.
I'm safe.
I'm safe.
All of this fear,
All of this,
Fear.
I'm quite scared.
I'm quite scared.
scared.
I'm feeling fearful.
I'm
I'm
feeling
feeling
fearful.
I'm feeling scared right now.
I'm feeling scared.
scared right now.
All of this fear in my body.
All of this fear in my body.
Fear in my body.
I have so much fear in my body.
I
I
have
have so
fear.
much fear in my body.
I'm really feeling scared.
I'm already
really
feeling scared.
And I don't know what's going to happen to me.
I don't
And
know
I'm
what's
gonna
happening.
happen.
I'm going to choose
I'm going to choose
to feel a bit safer.
To feel a bit safer.
I'm going to choose
I'm going to choose
to release some of this fear.
to
to release
release
some of this fear.
I'm going to choose to feel safe right now.
I'm gonna choose to say
Choose to
feel
feel
safe
safe.
now.
Releasing these feelings of fear.
Releasing these feelings of fear.
Choosing to feel safe.
Choosing to feel
Choosing to feel safe.
I'm choosing to feel safe right now.
I'm choosing to
Choosing to
feel
feel safe right now.
Okay, breathe in and out. Okay.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so in this way we can help calm our nervous system down, take us out of that fight or flight. And once we've done that, we can start finding solutions to what's going on.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. And I want to say thank you to our viewers that are watching us, and see you in another episode next week.